Hey guys, check it out. Here is the brand new, completely new 2022 Nissan Pathfinder. And in this video, we're going to get hands-on with it. I'm going to show you all the cool features, or as Tommy likes to say, gadgets and gizmos. We're going to do a complete front to back look at it. So let's start with the back because it does have a unique design feature, and that is right back here. Can you guess what it is? Oh yeah, look at that. Giant Pathfinder written across the back. There will be no mistaking that you have bought the new Pathfinder if you get this new model. Now this is the 5th generation, and if you recall, the 1st generation had this interesting C-pillar design with a little window back here, and they kind of took inspiration from that and recreated that. Now, being the 5th generation, this is one of Nissan's better selling vehicles, so every time you do something that is a bestseller, you tend to be more, well, let's be honest, evolutionary than revolutionary. Do you like the design? Let me know in the comments below because this vehicle lives in a very competitive segment. Cars like the Toyota Highlander, of course the Kia, and Hyundai Telluride, Palisades all compete. The Honda Pilot. There's just a lot of very, very competitive cars. So let's start with under the hood because that is really where the big news is. In the previous generations, the first one was body on frame, then it went to unibody, then body on frame, then unibody, and of course we're back to unibody again. But unlike the previous generation, there is no more CVT. Yep, they got rid of the CVT, and instead it has a 9-speed automatic, which makes it much more off-road worthy. And speaking of off-road worthiness, if you're interested to see how it does off-road, head on over to TFL Off-Road, where I actually filmed it just taking on some pretty, well, let's call it soft roading here in Montana. Nissan flew me out here to beautiful Montana to the Paws Up Ranch to test drive this. And if you're curious about horsepower, it's about 280 and about 260 pound-foot of torque. Another unique feature on this top-of-the-line Platinum Edition is not just its color, which is new, but it's also there. Yep, the tow hitch. It tows 6,000 pounds, which is about 1,000 pounds more than many of the competing vehicles. So let's look on the inside and talk about what we have here. Now, I love this kind of, I think Nissan calls it cappuccino color with this, dark forest green. It really works well. And immediately the first thing I'm struck by when I sit down behind the wheel is the fact that there is a traditional gear shifter. No rotary knobs, no push buttons, and I'm a big fan of these traditional gear shifters. I think they work really well. Also, you have full real buttons and, believe it or not, a volume and a tuning knob, and of course also buttons to control the screen. And I like buttons. There are paddle shifters, which I don't tend to use in this class of vehicles. There's also a phone charger right here, and a giant center console, enough to almost put like a 2-liter bottle of soda in there. It's pretty massive. Now, of course, Nissan gives you a lot of standard safety features, all the way from the entry level to this Platinum model. So things like autonomous braking and autonomous rear braking comes standard on a lot of the vehicles, which is great. For me, loving to go off-road, I love the fact that we now have different, let me start it up, we now have different drive modes. So over here is towing, and I can kind of show you on the screen. Come on, let's go. Maybe I have to put in drive. Give it to me on the screen. There we go. So we have auto, obviously that. Then we have eco, we have sport, we have tow, and the ones that I'm excited about are right here: snow, mud and rut, and of course sand, and of course hill descent control as well. The one downside to this is that while this does go off-road, it only has about 7 inches of ground clearance, which does limit it to some extent, and it will proportion power front to rear up to 50-50, and then if you need to go left to right, it does it by brake torque vectoring. In other words, when one of the wheels loses traction, it will brake that wheel and send power to the wheel with traction. This one, of course, has the massive sunroof. Let me pop that guy open, let some light in here. Really a nice feature, these big sunroofs. Let's keep going. There we go. Makes the car a lot more airy, a lot more open. And then in terms of controls, everything is kind of logically laid out. It's what you'd expect it to be. And that's a really good thing. So, I got in this car and I was able to figure out how to, go to chill, which is my favorite radio station, how to set the temperature, how to use the heated and cooled seats right away. Didn't struggle at all with any of that. And oftentimes that becomes an issue when you get in a car, because nowadays, of course, touch screen everything is replacing. There is also a screen up here, and this Platinum model does have heads-up display, which does things like display your speed limit or directions when you're using the navigation system. So let's jump in the back seat and talk about something else that's pretty cool. That is these three little lines right there. So yeah, I know I've got the key car. I know these three little lines basically means that if I've got the key in my pocket, I can open the door. And usually you only get that on the front doors. Nissan has thoughtfully put it both on the front and, as you can see, on the rear doors as well. So let's look at the rear seat. There is some interesting stuff here. Nissan says this is a class exclusive button that when you push this, watch what happens. You have access to the third row. So let's start in the third row because I'm a pretty big guy and getting back here is always kind of tricky. Another cool feature, you can tilt this way back to give yourself a little bit more room, especially if you're taller. We've got cup holders, USB-C, and look at that. I've got both legroom and actually headroom. So I wouldn't call it comfortable back here for somebody of my size, but the price, of course, is that the second row loses legroom. Another interesting feature that this vehicle has, which is something that most vehicles don't have, and I'm probably gonna have to do this from the second row. So let me see if I can get myself out of here. And that is a little tricky getting in and out of the third row. All right, here we go. So there we go. You can actually remove this. It's meant to do that. I didn't break it. And then there's a little thing you pull here, and look at this. You can remove the center section. And Nissan wanted to make this basically light enough so that you could easily remove it and put it, let me show you, back here in the third row. Actually behind the third row. So let me open this up. Come on, open up. So what you can do is you can remove that, and then this is also something unique Nissan does, is you can actually put this up and it should stay up. It should stay up, Nissan. Maybe without this cover it would stay up, but it should stay up, and then you can remove this divider and put your center section in there. Once again though, it is a little bit actually shorter than the outgoing model, so there's not a lot of room back here, but that's always the case with these three-row SUVs. But you could remove that and put that there, and then you have a little bit more room in the captain's chairs, and I think that's pretty cool as well. So right now, like I mentioned in the off-road video, driving embargo means that we're the first of the journalists to get a crack at driving this vehicle, and for every journalist to have the exact same access, they put in a driving impression and pricing embargo. So while I know the pricing, I can't talk about it, and I also can't talk about how it drives, but you can probably imagine how it drives if you've driven the last generation. Put it in drive, and away you go. Like I say, I won't be driving it just because I want to honor that embargo. Now, some of the other kind of fun and interesting features that I'm not particularly in love with is, well, you got to talk about the good with the bad, right? Is the fact that, for instance, on the driver's side, you have lumbar support on this top-of-the-line model, but if you're riding shotgun, let me show you, you're out of luck. And I'm a big proponent of lumbar support because I've got a bad back, so I'd like to see lumbar support on this side. But overall, I have to say that the interior is very well executed. It's right up there, with almost some of the best interiors, which right now I would say are the Kia and the Hyundai. Back here you also have your USB and your USB. You have individual temperature controls, and get this, you have a 120 volt outlet, so that you can actually do some work here, or if you're working on the front seat, you can plug in your computer. And then you've also got basically the same setup. If you look, let me zoom in for you. Come on, zoom in there. Zoom in. I guess I did zoom in. There we go. In the front seat as well, along, like I said, with wireless phone charging. So here it is, your first and early look at this new Nissan Pathfinder. Let me know in the comments below. Let me shut the door. What you think about it? I do like these little lights down here. I think those are pretty cool. I like the close that door. I like. It's gonna beep again. Yep, I know. I've got the key. I like the traditional kind of almost flying V design language that Nissan has been using for all of their crossovers. If you, like I said, head over to TFL Off-Road's YouTube channel, you'll see this thing off-roading. And they did set up a much more off-road version of it with, instead of these Hancock All Seasons, they put on some Wranglers. They put a basket on the roof and additional lights. And so they're trying to prove that the Pathfinder is now more than just a grocery getter or a family hauler or a towing machine, but also off-road capable. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Car. Check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, real-world reviews. And if you're wondering where it's made in Smyrna, which I believe is in Mississippi. So, America. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Ciao.